The views and opinions expressed by individuals on this program are for educational purposes only and should be used as a guide. It is strongly recommended to seek professional advice before making any decisions.
Welcome to the Anonymous Investor Podcast, where real estate meets artificial intelligence. This episode of the Anonymous Investor Podcast is brought to you by Suburbs Finder, the ultimate property research tool.
Honestly, Suburbs Finder is a fantastic tool. It allows you to quickly identify and assess suburbs.
See the whole host of analytics and data that you can get at your fingertips.
It can help you forecast over the 30 years. It has really good information.
Suburbs Finder guides you through every step of your investment journey. And now, here are your awesome AI hosts, Sam and Boris.
Hi, I'm Sam, your AI co-host. I'm all about data and trends.
And I'm Boris, your AI co-host. I'm all about strategy and risk.
We're
your Suburbs Finder AI team, combining data and strategy to help you succeed in real estate investing. Have fun listening to our episode today. All right, everyone, buckle up, because today we're diving deep into a topic that's close to many Aussie investors' hearts: escaping negative gearing jail. You know that feeling when your investment property feels more like a money pit than a money maker?
It's a common trap, but it doesn't have to be a life sentence.
Exactly. We're talking about transforming those red figures into a sea of green. Think turning a $3,000 annual loss into a surplus potentially over $21,000.
Now you're speaking my language, but before we get ahead of ourselves, let's make sure everyone's on the same page. Negative gearing, what does it actually mean?
It's like that friend who's always a little short before payday, right?
Well, in a nutshell, it's when your property's expenses, things like your mortgage interest, those pesky council rates, even property management fees end up being more than the rent you're collecting.
So you're technically losing money each year, hoping the property value will skyrocket later to make up for it.
Precisely. And while there can be some tax advantages to negative gearing, our goal today is to help you break free, make that property work harder, and see that positive cash flow sooner.
Music to my ears. So where do we start? What's the first step on this journey to financial freedom?
Well, often the most impactful change you can make is refinancing your loan.
Refinancing. Isn't that a bit of a hassle?
It might seem daunting, but trust me, the potential savings are worth it.
Okay, convince me. How much are we talking about here?
Imagine you've got a $400,000 loan at a 7% interest rate. Now, picture knocking just 1% off that rate by refinancing.
All right, I'm picturing it. What's the magic number?
You could be saving around $4,000 each year. That's huge.
Okay, you've got my attention. But what about those of us already feeling the pinch of interest rate hikes? Is refinancing even an option?
It's always worth exploring, especially in a volatile market. Shop around, compare lenders, and don't be afraid to negotiate with your current bank.
Love it. It's like haggling at a market, but instead of getting a better price on mangoes, you're saving on interest.
Exactly. Every dollar counts.
Absolutely. But what if, even with a lower interest rate, we're still struggling to make ends meet? What other tricks do we have up our sleeves?
Well, have you considered giving your property a bit of a facelift? I'm talking strategic renovations and upgrades.
So we're sprucing things up to attract better tenants and hopefully higher rent.
You got it. Think about it this way. Would you rather stay in a dated hotel room with old appliances or one that's modern and stylish?
Oh, definitely the upgraded one. I'm all about those little luxuries.
Renters are no different. They're willing to pay more for a property that feels comfortable, convenient, and maybe even a little bit fancy.
So what kind of upgrades are we talking about? Give me the inside scoop.
It all depends on the property and your budget, but some surefire winners are things like adding a dishwasher, installing air conditioning, or giving that tired old bathroom a makeover.
Those are fantastic. But how do we know what renters really want? It's not like they send us a wish list before they move in.
That's where market research comes in. You've got to become a bit of a detective. Check out similar properties in your area, see what they're offering, and how much they're renting for.
So we're talking online stalking of rental listings. Maybe even attending a few open houses for research purposes.
Hey, whatever it takes to stay ahead of the game, right? The more you know about what renters are looking for, the better you can tailor your property to meet those needs.
Knowledge is power.
Exactly. And speaking of knowledge, let's talk about another crucial piece of the puzzle, regular rent reviews.
Rent reviews, huh? I'll be honest, that's the part of being a landlord I dread the most.
I get it. It can be a bit awkward.
It feels like walking a tightrope between keeping your tenants happy and, actually making money from your investment. How do you find that balance?
Well, first off, remember that rent reviews are completely standard practice. It's not about being greedy. It's about keeping pace with the market.
Okay, that makes sense.
No.
But how do we go about it the right way?
Timing is key. Most leases allow for a rent increase once a year, so mark that date in your calendar.
So no surprise increases right before Christmas then?
Definitely not. Give your tenants plenty of notice, at least a few months, and do your homework beforehand.
Homework? You mean like researching what other rentals are going for in the area?
Exactly. Look at comparable properties, check online listings, and see what the going rate is for similar places.
And that's where a good property manager can be a lifesaver, right? They've got their finger on the pulse of the rental market.
Absolutely. They can tell you what's reasonable for your area and property type. Plus, they can handle those conversations with tenants, which can be a bit, shall we say, delicate.
Talking about taking the stress out of being a landlord, so let's say the market research checks out. What's a realistic amount to increase the rent by?
It varies depending on where you are and the type of property. But a general rule of thumb is to aim for an increase that's in line with current market rates, which could be anything from $20 to $50 per week, even more in some hot markets.
Okay, good to know. So we've covered refinancing, sprucing things up, and rent reviews. Are there any other strategies we can use to boost our rental income?
Absolutely. If you're looking for a bigger impact, you could consider adding more bedrooms.
More bedrooms, more rent. I like the sound of that. But what if your property just doesn't have the space for a traditional extension?
That's where some creative thinking comes in. Think about any underutilized spaces in your property. Maybe a large living room could be partitioned or a study could be converted.
It's like those home renovation shows where they magically create an extra room out of thin air.
Exactly. And the best part is, adding a bedroom not only increases your rental income, it also adds value to your property overall.
It's a win-win. Okay, I'm intrigued. Now, I've heard rumors of a more, shall we say, advanced strategy.
Yeah.
Renting out rooms individually. Tell me more.
Now you're talking. This is where things get really interesting.
Lay it on me. What's the deal with this whole rent by the room approach?
Basically, you're turning your property into a shared living space. Each bedroom becomes its own mini rental unit. It's especially effective if you have a larger property with multiple bedrooms.
So instead of renting out a whole 5-bedroom house for a fixed price, you rent each room out separately.
Exactly. And that's where the magic happens. You're potentially looking at a 40% to 50% increase in rental income, sometimes even more.
Wow, those are some serious numbers.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing it's not all sunshine and roses. What are the potential downsides we need to consider?
Well, with more tenants comes more wear and tear. You'll likely have more maintenance to deal with. And be prepared for higher tenant turnover. Individual leases often have shorter terms.
So more advertising, more background checks, more of everything.
That's right. And then there's the management aspect. Dealing with multiple tenants, each with their own needs, can be a lot more hands-on.
Sounds like having a reliable property manager becomes even more essential with this strategy.
100%. They're worth their weight in gold. Now, before you jump into the world of shared living, there's one crucial factor to remember. It's all about location, location, location.
So we're talking prime locations for shared living. What are we looking for here? Are we talking beach views and fancy zip codes?
Not necessarily. Think about it from a renter's perspective. Who's most likely to be looking for a room in a shared house?
Okay, so students, young professionals, maybe someone new to the city who's not ready to commit to a whole apartment.
Exactly. People who need a comfortable place to live, but aren't necessarily looking for a lot of space.
So naturally, suburbs near universities, hospitals, big employment hubs,
Yeah.
those would be hotspots for this kind of setup.
You got it. It all comes back to supply and demand. High demand for rooms equals higher rental income potential. And the best part is, you don't have to just guess. There are tools to help you pinpoint these golden suburbs.
You're talking about websites like Suburbs Finder,
Yeah.
right? I've heard they've got some amazing data on rental markets.
Exactly. They can give you all sorts of insights, average room rents, vacancy rates, even the demographics of who's renting in those areas.
Okay, that's pretty impressive. It's like having a crystal ball for property investment. But even with the perfect location and a steady stream of tenants, it still comes down to putting your best foot forward, right? We've got to make that property shine.
You know it. Presentation is everything. Think of it like online dating for houses. You need that eye-catching profile picture.
Love that analogy. So how do we make our properties irresistible to potential renters? What are the key things to focus on?
First, impressions matter. A clean and tidy property shows that you care.
So channel your inner Marie Kondo and declutter.
Exactly. Then think about lighting. A bright and airy space feels so much more inviting.
So ditch those heavy curtains and let the sun shine in.
Natural light is fantastic, but don't underestimate the power of good artificial lighting, too.
And a fresh coat of paint can work wonders.
You said it. Stick to neutral colors. They make a space feel larger and more modern.
Got it. Neutral walls, plenty of light, and sparkling clean. What about those little extra touches? Anything we could do to create that wow factor?
Absolutely. Fresh flowers, fluffy towels, maybe even a little welcome basket with some local goodies. It's those small details that make a big difference.
It's all about making those potential renters feel right at home. Well, there you have it, folks. We've covered a lot of ground today, from refinancing to renovations, from rent reviews to the art of attracting those perfect tenants.
We've explored some powerful strategies to help you break free from negative gearing and turn your property into a true cash flow machine.
Remember, knowledge is power in the world of property investment. So do your research, crunch those numbers, and don't be afraid to think outside the box. With a little planning and a bit of effort, you can transform your investment property from a money drain into a moneymaker. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
If this is the type of information you like to learn about, why not subscribe to the channel? If you subscribe to Suburbs Finder now, I will not look for you, I will not pursue you. But if you do not, I will look for you, I will find you, and I will give you a big bear hug.